As of 2017, about 42% of India's working population depend on agriculture and related vocations for employment. So it is obvious that happy and prosperous farmers hold the key to a happy India. However, there are many foreign-funded NGOs which are working against this agenda. In 2014, when the current government came to power under the strong and able leadership of Honorable Shri Narendra Modi ji, he made it clear that welfare of India's farmers was among the top priorities for his government. To this effect, the government announced its goal to double farmers' income by the year 2022 and encouraged farmers to diversify their economic activity to poultry, dairy and fisheries, minimize the risk and improve their income.
हम सब मिलकर के, ये मैं बहुत जिम्मेवारी के साथ इन शब्द प्रयोग को किया हुआ है, सब मिलकर के ये लक्ष्य क्यों न तय करें कि 2022 में किसान की इनकम डबल हो।
Today, India is the world's third largest egg producer and the fourth largest poultry meat producer. The Indian poultry industry is very competitive at a global scale, supplying very good quality poultry products at competitive price. But today, a grave issue looms large that will not only derail this process, but it could potentially push millions of farmers, especially those in poultry farming, towards unemployment and bankruptcy. Ill-informed foreign-funded animal rights activists and NGOs have petitioned in various Indian courts to impose a ban on caged poultry farming in favor of poultry farming by keeping birds in an open area, exposed to the hot, dusty and harsh climatic conditions in our part of the world. However, they fail to recognize the basic fact that the birds reared for poultry farming cannot survive in this hot climate. For anyone with even the slightest understanding of the poultry sector, it is obvious that the demand for such a ban is motivated and influenced by the foreign-funded NGOs and in line with the donors' agenda to keep India out of world market and to hurt the Indian poultry industry. The proposed ill-advised ban will be a huge disaster for the poultry industry, and poultry farmers in India will be ruined for no fault of theirs. The motivated PIL petitions filed by these foreign-funded so-called NGOs are operating at the behest of their foreign masters, who fund them heavily for waging these legal battles to derail developments in Indian poultry sector. Their single-point agenda is to keep India out of the global poultry market and make India dependent on imported poultry products from countries who are funding these NGOs. These foreign donor entities stand to reap huge financial benefits at the cost of livelihood of the poor Indian poultry farmer. Research shows that demand of foreign-funded NGOs lack any credible scientific justification for imposing a cage ban. It is disastrous to adopt cold country open farm norms in hot climate countries like India. This will increase the mortality and reduce the welfare state of Indian poultry to the disastrous level due to the spread of disease, infection, and attack on birds by stray animals like cats and dogs. This will make the whole poultry industry unviable in India. In order to accommodate the same amount of poultry birds, farmers will need 50 times more space and construction costs. This makes open poultry farming an inefficient system with higher input costs and with no benefits to the birds, which are genetically selected for efficient productions in a hot climate as adopted by Indian farmers in India based on scientific advice of R&D institutes. If we accept these illogical and unscientific demands of foreign-funded NGOs, it will lead to 20 million farmers and workers being pushed into unemployment, and 130 crore consumers will suffer due to the huge price rise of animal origin protein in India. On the financial side, more than 60,000 crores worth of investments made in the Indian poultry sector over the years, which are today valued at about 200 billion USD, will become a national waste with no benefit to either farmers or poultry birds. The only beneficiary will be foreign-funded NGOs and their donors, because their agenda to destroy Indian poultry sector and the related industries will be accomplished. As on date, Indian farmers are already under severe financial stress, and imposing a cage ban will lead to a sharp increase in bad debts and closure of existing farms, as well as increased unemployment. In turn, this will also lead to a drop in egg and meat products, which will result in an increase in egg and poultry meat prices in India. A study has indicated that if open poultry farming is made mandatory in India, it will drive up the price of eggs and poultry meat by as much as 4 times.
They have been talking about, enhanced cages. They have been talking about aviaries. They have been talking about alternate systems. All of these are expensive. Let me tell you, all of these are expensive. Today, we get an egg for about 5 rupees or 6 rupees. If any of these systems are followed, the cost of production would go higher, minimum 3 to 4 times, and the availability of eggs in the open market will be so expensive that one single egg which we are getting at 5 rupees, we will have to pay 25 rupees or 30 rupees for that. Can a poor person afford it? No. Today a poor person buying 2 eggs in 10 rupees is getting about 10 to 12 grams of protein, which is the basic requirement of that person, and the protein hunger or the protein malnutrition is taken care of. Today if the eggs become expensive, then common people cannot afford it. So cost factor has to be considered. The economics has to be considered. Economics of the industry, economics of cost of production of eggs, the economics in terms of the price which is required to be paid by the consumer will have to be considered before you take any decision on this particular issue.
In India, where we are already far below the prescribed global levels in terms of protein intake, skyrocketing egg prices will rob the common citizens from an accessible and affordable source of protein. This certainly does not augur well for the physical well-being of a country trying to become an economic powerhouse. The cascading effect of a potential cage ban does not just stop here. This cage ban also threatens to drive up edible oil prices by double, because other byproducts will have no market. Today we consume edible oil from crops like soya, sunflower, mustard, sesame, rice bran, cotton seed, etc. Once the oil is extracted from these plants, the remaining part is converted to de-oiled cakes. These de-oiled cakes are an inedible protein, which is used as chicken feed for the poultry industry. The bird converts this inedible protein to edible protein. Selling these de-oiled cakes to poultry farms helps reduce the cost of edible oil for common consumers. Crops like maize, jawar, millet, etc. grow in arid zones and help poor farmers in far interiors make a living, because these crops are used in poultry feed. A potential ban on caged poultry farming is a massive disaster waiting to happen in an economy already facing severe headwinds. It is extremely important our government takes the right steps to avert the creation of an agrarian crisis driven by foreign-funded NGOs, which is entirely avoidable, and the ramifications of which will ruin Indian rural economy forever.